and welcome to our Surrogacy Q&A. My name is Rhonda Blair. I'm a case manager here at Fairfax Surrogacy. I'm also a 4-time surrogate and have delivered 5 beautiful babies to 3 amazing families.
And I'm Joyce Wheeler. I'm also a case manager here at Fairfax, mother of 3 and 2-time former surrogate. And today we are going to chat a little bit about surrogacy from start to finish. What does that process look like? What does it entail? How long does it take? We're going to take about 30 minutes today, answer some questions that we hear most often. And then, of course, feel free to drop some questions in the chat as we go along, and we'll be sure to get those as well. Rhonda, to kick us off, what happens first? Someone wants to do surrogacy, someone's interested. What is the first step in all of this?
That's a great question. So the first step is applying and doing this pre-screening process. So the basic requirements for a surrogate are to have overall healthy pregnancies and deliveries, be in the age range from 21 to 42. You need to be a legal U.S. resident. You can't be here on a visa. You have to be a mother yourself and be raising your own children. Your BMI needs to be under 32. You can't smoke, vape, do drugs, drinking, or anything like that. We only allow for up to 5 deliveries and no more than 2 C-sections out of those deliveries. And you can't be on any type of government assistance, or you need the ability to be able to come off of the government assistance to be able to move forward. If you fit those basic criteria, then the next part of the process is the whole screening process. So you've completed an application. You're going to have a consultation with someone from our admissions team. Then you will have your prenatal provider clearance, which is going to include a PAP and a physical. You'll have a mental health evaluation with you and your partner, if you have one. And then you're also going to complete lab work. Now, the screening process can take a different amount of time. It really depends on how motivated you are, as well as the time that your prenatal provider and the hospital take to provide your medical records. But you will see profiles within a couple of weeks, and most surrogates are matched within a month if you have open preferences. So
Definitely.
that's the first start. And then the next step goes into matching. Joyce, you want to tell us a little bit about that part?
I can. Thank you, Rhonda. It's when you explain it all at first, it sounds like a lot. It sounds like we're asking for so much, and it is a lot to gather, but it's essential to make sure, having the heart to be a surrogate is one thing, and we are so grateful for those women to step forward. But we want to be sure that we have your OB's clearance, that your OB, that who's going to support you during the pregnancy is there and providing you with that support from the beginning. And we are here every step of the way. So we're not going to send you all of this stuff and have you complete it on your own. We are here to answer questions, to provide that support. Like Rhonda and I said earlier, we've both been surrogates. So we've had to do everything that you just mentioned. And when you get to that point where everything's been turned in, you have that moment of like, okay, I did it. I am actually qualified to do this. And it motivates you, you get excited. So then once we have all of that, we kind of move into the matching phase. And so you've gotten everything done. You're ready to meet some intended parents. You're ready to find that match and move forward with your surrogacy journey. Here at Fairfax, we have our surrogates create a profile. The profile is you in an essence. So it's going to be photos of you and your family. It's going to be a video that we help you with, because sometimes it's hard to be on video. You get nervous. I think we both do. But we create this profile, and then we share your profile with intended parents, and we share the intended parents' profile, who will also have a letter, a video, their background, what they do for fun, just kind of a picture of them per se to you. You get that profile and you decide who you want to help. So once you've been presented with a profile that you feel a connection with, we are going to set up a match call. So that is kind of what we're doing here, where we're going to be on video, where there's some nerves, but we're hopeful that once we've connected you with that set of intended parents or that single intended parent, that it's really just an establishment of your journey together. So We're going to ask questions that pertain to the journey itself, about logistics. We're going to talk about what to expect after the match call is complete. And we're going to see if there is a spark, if this can be the start of something amazing. So once we've had that match call, we move into the more logistic steps of that. But a surrogate, once her profile is complete, she can expect to match. We're going to start sharing her profile as soon as it's complete. So we don't have necessarily a timeline for that, but it's very quickly. I would say within 2 months, but again, it depends on how quickly you're getting everything done and back to us, because it really depends on that surrogate and getting things done before we start to share. So once you're matched, like I said, we're moving into some more exciting, more fun stuff. So Rhonda, what happens once the match happens?
So once you've had that match meeting and everyone says, yes, you guys are ready to move forward, you go into the main part of your journey. So the first step with that is that you will have a medical screening. That medical screening is going to include a uterine evaluation, blood and urine samples for you, and then blood samples for your partner as well if you have one. They're going to test for sexually transmitted diseases, drugs, nicotine, alcohol. For the surrogate, they're also going to test for vitamin levels, her hormone levels, and her immunities, such as chickenpox, measles, mumps, etc. We want to make sure that it's going to be safe for you as a surrogate to carry that baby, as well as make sure that that baby has protection while that baby is growing inside you from those immunities or those illnesses that can come around. So with that medical screening, you are going to travel to your intended parents' fertility center. You'll go there the day before, you'll have that appointment the day of, and you'll come back home the day of the appointment as well. So there is travel that's involved. It's really dependent on where their fertility center is, but it's a really quick process. So once you've got your medical screening done, those results typically take about 2 weeks to process. You'll find out the information about your uterine evaluation pretty much that same day, but those blood and urine tests usually take about 2 weeks to come back. So Joyce, after that medical screening occurs, what's the next step?
Definitely that the medical screening, sometimes we call it the hurry up and wait. And you'll probably hear that a few times in your journey where we're rushing to get your profile done. We're rushing to get you the perfect match. We're rushing to medical and we're waiting for the results. After we have your results back and after everything looks good, we are going to enter into the legal phase of the journey. So this is a crucial point of your journey. It's going to solidify all of the main keys of your journey. So things like the termination stance that we initially matched on. So a lot of the things that you cover in legal are things that we covered in the match call. So we're going to formalize it by working with separate attorneys. The intended parents have an attorney and our surrogates have an attorney of their choosing. We work with those attorneys, but really it's up to the surrogate to voice questions and comments and make sure that she is comfortable signing this agreement, and same thing with the intended parents. So the contract itself, we estimate about 4 to 8 weeks for the contract phase. If everybody is in agreement and everyone is moving forward quickly, it can happen sooner than that. But again, we want to make sure that we are taking the time to process what we're reading and what we're agreeing to. So we're here as case managers for questions that come up as experienced surrogates. The contract is meant to protect all parties going forward. And so we have that solidified quickly, and hopefully everyone is comfortable moving forward. We won't move forward until we are comfortable. But that legal phase happens before the most exciting part of the journey. Rhonda, what happens after legal is done?
So then after legal is done is the transfer. But I have a quick question for you, Joyce.
Yeah.
Some of our surrogates want to know when it's time for that attorney fee. Are they going to be responsible for making that payment, or is that something that's covered for them?
Good question. The legal fees are not a requirement of the surrogate to cover. In fact, that kind of feeds into the entire journey in essence financially. We the surrogate should not be financially responsible for anything in the journey itself. If there are things like co-pays at doctor's visits, maybe you're paying for parking when you go to the doctor, Ubers when you're at your medical screening, those things are reimbursed, coming back to you. But legal fees, things like that are not of the surrogate's responsibility. The only thing the surrogate should focus on during legal is obviously understanding what she's reading and being comfortable with it, signing the engagement letter that the attorney is going to present her. But as far as financial obligations, those are taken care of. The surrogate should not have to pay anything towards that. And if it is, again, maybe shipping fees to send that contract off, we are going to reimburse for that 100%. Good question. Thanks for pointing that out. Definitely.
Absolutely. And then also for the surrogates to be aware of too, is that contract is going to reflect that compensation package that you signed with us as well. So you've agreed with the compensation package. Our financial people have gone over that with you. You explained the whole process with you. So your financial package that you agreed to is what is going to be reflected in that legal agreement as well.
Absolutely. And it's something that the surrogates and intended parents can refer back to often. Sometimes when you're in the beginning and you're completing the forms and getting everything done and you go over that compensation package, obviously you're comfortable moving forward. And then by the time things are taking effect and putting into motion, you're like, oh, well, when does this occur? And when would this compensation start? That contract's going to outline those things. Of course, surrogates are always welcome to come back and ask questions. Same thing with intended parents. But that contract should give you kind of like a copy of what your journey should look like financially, logistically. That is something that the escrow will look back on and confirm things like that. So it's very vital, very important, and it's outlines everything for your journey itself.
Absolutely. And I don't know about you, Joyce, but for my own contracts, I was constantly looking at them like, wait, when is this supposed to happen? Am I allowed to travel this far at this stage? And it was one of those guidelines that I was constantly referring back to.
Definitely. It's not every day that you have a contract with someone. And so when you are doing gestational surrogacy and you have that contract in place, things like travel, you mentioned, can I travel at this point? The contract's going to stipulate things as far as travel, mainly for the insurance purposes. And so when you're questioning different things or you're curious if this is how things are supposed to be going, or even if you just want to have that reminder and feel that secure aspect of things, it's there. And those attorneys work very hard to work for who they're working for. So the intended parents are keeping everyone protected. The surrogates attorney is keeping everyone protected. And it's just very helpful and reassuring that that is in place before we get to the exciting part, the very exciting part of the journey, which we will chat about now. What happens once everything is solidified, everyone is on the same page? Now what?
So now we start the embryo transfer process. So yay. Most fertility centers will provide the surrogate and the intended parents with a calendar that's going to tell them when they're going to start medications, when they're going to have appointments. So when we get that calendar, Joyce and I, as case managers, we're going to review it with our surrogates and our intended parents, make sure that they fully understand that calendar, make sure they understand, how to take the medications, give them little reminders set reminders on your phone for when you're supposed to take medications. So that way we make sure that everything flows nice and smoothly. Schedule all of your appointments right away. So that way you've got the nice early appointments, so that those results can come through that same day. So when you are receiving your calendar, you're going to find out what kind of medication you are on. So each fertility center is different, and that medication is going to be based on the fertility center, the doctor, and you as the surrogate's body. So whether they've found the information through the medical screening, or if you've completed a mock cycle, they're going to determine what medication is going to work best for you. So you could be on medications such as estrogen, progesterone, but I can guarantee you every single surrogate is going to be on a prenatal vitamin. We want to make sure that you've got the extra vitamins coming in to protect you and the baby during that essential time where we're transferring the baby as well as continuing it throughout the pregnancy. With those medications, they come in various methods of taking them. You could have injectable medications, you could have patches, vaginal suppositories, or even oral medications. Again, it's really dependent on the fertility center and what's going to work with your body. You might have a combination of all four of them. You just don't know until you get that calendar from the fertility center.
Yep. Yeah.
So the other question we get a lot of times is, does that embryo transfer hurt? That
But
is that's a great question. So the embryo transfer does not hurt. It's very similar to a PAP where there can be some cramping during the procedure and even afterwards. And the cramping can actually even occur days afterwards. It's not a bad sign, and it's not a bad sign if you don't get cramping either, because everybody's body is different. So it's very normal, but it is very similar to a PAP. So we're gonna just backtrack a quick minute because we did get a question that came through. Someone was asking what a mock cycle is.
yeah, I can tackle that. A mock cycle, and not all clinics do this, and a lot of them do. So it's kind of a toss up between if your clinic is someone that does a mock cycle or it doesn't. A mock cycle will be when the clinic is going to introduce a medication, usually estrogen. They'll introduce IVF medication to the surrogate, and they will monitor her hormone levels, her uterine lining, just to kind of see how she reacts to that medication prior to doing the actual embryo transfer itself. So you'll get all the way through the process. You'll do the medications, you will go for the monitoring appointments, and then it gives the clinic a really good idea of maybe she needs less of this medication, maybe she needs more of this medication, but it's a trial. We call it like a practice transfer. It you don't actually transfer the embryo, but more so just to see how your body reacts in the process of actually going through the embryo transfer. And it's typically done simultaneously to the medical screening itself. So you'll get to the medical screening, you'll go through that process, and then they'll introduce the mock cycle to you. Then we're working through we're doing the legal kind of at the same time to make sure that everyone is on the same page. And then we get into the transfer process. So it definitely happens before an actual embryo transfer. And again, it should be painless. There's the medications are introduced, you're going for the lining checks, transvaginal ultrasounds, and then if all looks good, it gives everyone that green light to move forward with an actual embryo transfer.
Yes. And for that embryo transfer, you are going to travel to your intended parent's fertility center as well. So that those embryos are not going to leave their fertility center until one or two of them are packed neatly away into your uterus. And we are hopeful that they continue to grow and prosper. So you would typically fly out the day before transfer or drive, depending on how far the fertility center is for you. And then the day of transfer, you'll go to the transfer, you'll go back to your hotel room and relax the rest of the day, and then you'll return home the following day. And that's from most of our fertility centers that we work with.
Absolutely. Keyword there is relax.
You relax,
Look
exactly.
at it. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to relax. But we encourage it, and just hang out, watch some TV, and enjoy a mini vacation, if you will.
There's two fertility centers out there that have some great terminology for that I'll share. One of them is that you want to act like a couch potato. It's a couch potato day. You're sitting back, you're watching TV, you're not really like taking walks or doing anything like that. The other one I love is it's a princess day. Everyone should be treating you as a princess. You're not cooking, you're not taking care of kids. You are the one who is being taken care of.
I love it. I love the princess one. Everyone should feel like a princess at least once. And why not after, the embryo transfer itself is I for me personally as a surrogate after embryo transfer, I don't know if it was a surge of hormones or what it was, but I was tired. I took the
Mhm.
best nap of my life because I knew, my kids were taken care of at home. I was, states away, and I had the TV on. I had a big comfy bed to lay in the hotel, and I just slept so hard. So
I
who
did
doesn't
too.
need extra sleep in their life at this point?
Right? Exactly. I did too. So
Yeah.
after the embryo transfer, they're going to continue to do monitoring back at your home area. They'll do blood work and ultrasounds, make sure baby is growing well. Then the fertility center is going to release you back to your prenatal care provider. So when you're released to your prenatal care provider, you're going to continue like you would a normal pregnancy, like you just had with all of your other kids or little ones. And then we get to the most exciting part. Joyce, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the pregnancy, I for me as a surrogate, it felt way faster than my own pregnancies. I think there's a little bit of, you're not planning a nursery, you're not picking out a name. Sometimes you forget you're pregnant, you're living your life, you're busy as a mom. And so I've heard from many, many surrogates that the journey feels very quick. So transfer happens, you're pregnant, and then boom, it's baby day. So there's a lot of planning that goes into that. As case managers, we meet with our surrogates and our intended parents to talk about birth preferences before we get to the big day. We want to make sure that everyone feels supported and on the same page. And so we talk about who holds baby right after birth. What does postpartum look like for everybody in the room? The parents, if they're international, we're helping them get back home. We're helping the surrogate get settled back at her home. And so it's fourth trimester. Baby is here. Everyone is adjusting to life. And we work around the clock at that point just to make sure that everyone feels that additional support. We've worked so hard to get to that moment, and it's amazing. So the surrogate, way before we even get to that stage, and from the very beginning, the surrogate's going to deliver where she feels most comfortable. So that may be a birth center, that may be her hospital that she gave birth at before. That space is what she's going to decide, and then we incorporate the parents and make sure that the hospital is aware, or the birth team themselves is aware of the situation, and how exciting and momentous this moment is going to be. Hospital births are most common, I would say, in surrogacy, but we also are very comfortable with birth centers. It's that support that we look for, and transparency with all involved. So there's autonomy with our birthing preferences and processes. And so once we've gotten to that point where the big day has happened and we've discussed this, parents are in the room, parents are very supportive, excited to meet their baby for the first time. And then typically a relationship has been formed throughout that entire journey. So questions that we get asked, even from the very beginning, from both surrogates and intended parents, is, baby's here, now what? What does this next chapter look like? And ideally, you have formed whatever comfortable relationship you feel throughout that entire journey. And so that kind of bleeds over into postpartum. You are going to have photos, updates, you're going to have conversations. It's whatever you've created, whatever your comfort level is, that you kind of just adapt to that next phase of life. And so parents are home with their newborn. There's not a whole lot of sleeping going on. And as parents ourselves, we get it. And so they're going to touch base, you're going to touch base, and that relationship is going to continue in whatever direction it was going from very early on in the relationship. And I don't know about you, but as a case manager, it is beautiful to see it from the very start all the way through the medical screening, the legal process, the transfer, all of the emotions. I think when you're in it as intended parents and surrogates, you are almost tunnel vision. What's the next step? Where are we going? And for us as case managers, we see it as an eagle eye. So we get that view from the top where we're like, oh my gosh, this happened this day and now we're here. And it's not always rainbows and sunshine. And I think it's really important as, people in this industry to recognize that and to understand that we talk of all the happy and the positives, but we're also there during the harder times. And so when we do get to the birth, when we do get to that moment, if there has been difficult times throughout the journey, I think as case managers and as Fairfax as a whole, we live into it a little bit harder because we know what everyone has been through to get there. And it is a beautiful, chaotic, wonderful journey from start to finish. And I don't even know if finish is the word that I use, because it typically doesn't just end. There's so much more first birthday photos and just happiness all the way around. So yeah. postpartum, birth, all of those things. We're here from the moment you decide to work with us all the way through your journey, all the way, hopefully, years and years to come. We're honored to be part of this experience and this journey. One question that just came through, I just now saw it, and I'll touch on it, or Rhonda, if you want to
Yeah,
tackle it too. The question is, what happens to the breast milk?
I can definitely tackle that one.
Okay.
So that's a great question. So like Joyce said, we will talk to you guys about your birth preferences, the surrogate and the intended parents, and determine what you are open to for breast milk. If the surrogate is willing to pump breast milk and if the intended parents are willing to accept breast milk. If that is the case, then the surrogate would pump the breast milk and provide it to the intended parents. So obviously she can easily hand it over to them when we're in the hospital or when they're still local. Afterwards, that would be a conversation we would have as well to determine how long do the intended parents want to purchase breast milk? How long does the surrogate want to provide breast milk? If they want to provide it, we can work with everybody to assist with shipping the breast milk. So you would freeze the breast milk and we would ship it overnight. So that way when it still gets to the parents, it's nice and frozen. If the parents don't want to obtain breast milk and the surrogate does want to pump, because that does do a good healing process for the surrogate. If that's the case, we can definitely help connect you with some facilities that will purchase that breast milk for our NICU babies that are around the country. I pumped for all 4 of my journeys that I had and provided them all breast milk. So I'm happy to help out and answer any questions someone might have regarding that as well.
Awesome. Definitely. Yeah, same here. It's your body's going to produce it. What we do with it, whether it goes to the parents, whether we donate to the preemies around the world, we help to navigate that 100%. And it's a conversation that we actually have at the very beginning when we're talking to a surrogate, because we see the end in sight and we know what to expect. So we talk about it then. We talk about it as we're matching. At that point, it's all in theory.
Mhm.
We don't know exactly what the body is going to do, if it's going to react to a pump. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But we are here for all of those scenarios, all of those different what ifs along the way, and we can kind of help guide and get you to where you need to be. So if there's no more questions coming through, do you see any more on your side?
I don't see any more on my side. So
Okay.
thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions about becoming a surrogate or building your family through surrogacy, please visit our website at fairfaxsurrogacy.com or email info@fairfaxsurrogacy.com. And we're happy to answer any questions you might have. All
Yeah,
right.
thank you guys.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.